live from above the rink at T-Mobile Arena.
Bounces off the glass, high slot, Coughlin chips it on, and they score! Colasar!
This is the VGK Insiders Show.
Hurdle from the right side, give and go, he shoots, he scores! Tomas Hurdle, 5-4 Knights, 3:24 to go in the third period.
On Fox Sports Las Vegas.
Welcome in, Vegas Golden Knights Insider Show, Fox Sports Las Vegas. Ryan Wallace, Angel Castro hanging out with you for the next 2 hours. It is an off day in the Stanley Cup Final, and the Vegas Golden Knights, boy oh boy, a huge win in Game 1 yesterday, 5-4 over the Carolina Hurricanes. There are a lot of things to pull out of that game. Number one, the Vegas Golden Knights trailing 2-0 early in the first period as the road team in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. That has happened 56 times. 56 times that a team on the road is trailing by multiple goals in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final, and for the first time ever, a team in that scenario won a game. 1-55 in that scenario, the Golden Knights, they're the one. A tremendous comeback victory for the Golden Knights. John Tortorella has mentioned it a number of times. It is a find-a-way league, and the Golden Knights last night found a way. We will dive into that in great detail over the next 2 hours. You're also going to hear in hour number 2 from John Tortorella, from Mark Stone and Rasmus Andersson, from Nick Dowd and Cole Smith. So a lot of audio coming your way in hour number 2. In a little bit, around 4:30 or so, we're going to chat with Mike Johnson of the NHL Network. He was in the building yesterday in game number 1, so we'll chat a little bit more, again, in of the Stanley Cup Final. And joining us now right off the rip is going to be Eddie Rivkin, host of the Hockey Nights in Vegas podcast. Stanley Cup Final going on right now. The Vegas Golden Knights have a 1-0 series lead over the Carolina Hurricanes. Eddie, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, Ryan. How are you?
I'm good. This is fun. This is the best time of the year to be a Golden Knights fan. It's the best time of the year to be a hockey fan in general. And for Vegas, they just continue to do what they do. They're now 3-0 all time in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Like, this team, they get to this point, they don't lose Game number 1. Doesn't matter if it's at T-Mobile Arena or at Lenovo Center like last night. The Golden Knights, they set the tone early in the Stanley Cup Final.
Oh, absolutely. It was a wonderfully frantic hockey adventure. It was everything any hockey fan could ever want in a Stanley Cup Final. Arguably, Ryan, maybe one of the best game ones in recent memory.
So I want to back up to the beginning of the series or before the series started and get your thoughts on the matchup initially, right? When we found out it was going to be Vegas and Carolina, what were your expectations of the matchup and who would have the edge in the series?
Well, I think the biggest first take was we're down to big boy hockey now. All the young kids are gone, the Buffaloes, the Montreals. It was nice to have them in the playoffs. But now that we're down to 2, it's grown man hockey from here on out. As far as the matchups go, there was just a ton of dialogue. How's Vegas going to handle Carolina's massive forecheck and their relentless pressure and all of those other, that was the whole sort of, thought going into the beginning of the season. And I think I disagree with that. I'm more like, Carolina has not seen a team like the Vegas Golden Knights. Not to say that the competition that they played was inferior, because it wasn't. It was the Stanley Cup playoffs. But Carolina had a pretty easy route. 12-1, that's a pretty easy route. The only game they lost was the first game against Montreal after they hadn't played in about 6 weeks, it seemed like. I think it was really only about 12 days. But this is the global narrative about, Vegas doesn't belong here versus the reality that you and I know because we watched 82 games plus the playoffs that said this narrative isn't correct, Brian. And Vegas kind of proved us right and most of the naysayers wrong.
You know, Eddie, I'm curious because you brought it up in relation to Carolina. The path that they had was the path that they had. They had to go through Ottawa, who I thought was better than a sweep would indicate. Then you've got Philadelphia, who's certainly ahead of schedule, their own schedule, and Montreal, who ran out of steam because they played, 14 games through the first 2 rounds of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So that is a path that a team like Carolina, who has been knocking on the door for 8 years, should be able to get to this point relatively unscathed. Then you look at the Golden Knights' path. You got Utah, you got Anaheim, you've got Colorado. Who had the easier path? Was it Vegas or was it Carolina?
No, I think it was Carolina for sure. Carolina has had until Shea Theodore scored in the first period with 7 minutes to go or something like that last night. Carolina had zero adversity in the playoffs. Absolute hard zero, hard stop, none. The Golden Knights dispatched of the President's Cup winning Colorado Avalanche summarily in 4 games. So that's a no-brainer question. Carolina last night faced adversity for the first time in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and to be frank, they didn't respond very well, Ryan.
Is that a concern for you, like in terms of Carolina? Because, the reality for the Hurricanes over the last 8 years has been when they get to that round, and for the longest time it was the Eastern Conference Final, when they get to that round where adversity hits or they're playing a team that is able to handle their pressure, they wilt.
Well, the saying when it came to the dinosaurs was adapt or die. And Carolina has shown no proclivity whatsoever and no ability to adapt. And if they don't adapt, this series is going to be a lot shorter than a lot of the really smart pundits said earlier. The issue that I think that Carolina has is they don't have a ton of moves. Their second line and third line have been great. Their first line could be starring in the movie The Invisible Man. Aho and that group, I think, has 6 or 7 goals in the playoffs, 4 of which were empty netters. They don't have the ability to – what are you going to do? You're going to take your first line guy, Sebastian Aho or Svechnikov, and move him down to the fourth line and bring Will Carrier up? Now, listen, we love Will Carrier, but Will Carrier is not a first-line NHL player. He's a role player in the perfect spot in Carolina. So Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes have a difficult puzzle to try to solve because their second, third lines have been rock solid. Their second line, arguably their best line with Stankoven, and Jordan and the Stahl third line has been rock solid and defending very well. So I don't know what they're going to do, but we know that the Golden Knights figured it out. It took them about 12 minutes to get used to the speed, but they figured it out, Ryan.
So, okay, I don't want to get too in the weeds here when it comes to Carolina, but it is important to spend a little bit of time on the opposition. And the answer, and it's not like an easy one, it's not a great one for Carolina Hurricane fans, but the answer is you need Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, and Seth Jarvis to be elite. You need them to be a top line. You need them to go out there and take over a game. And to this point in the playoffs, even though Carolina is 12-2, they haven't done that.
Well, I need to lose 30 pounds and be 20 years younger, but that's not happening either, Ryan. Their first line, I would make the case that Carolina has got to where they are without their first line. So, Absolutely. Yes, that is what they need, but I haven't seen any indication that magically tomorrow night at the Lenovo Center they're gonna magically show up and be the rock stars that everybody proclaims them to be. Do you?
I do think that there's going to be some type of answer from Carolina. And listen, it might be Stankoven, Blake, and Hall, because that's been the line that has delivered the answers. I thought Stahl was tremendous last night when things were going well for the Hurricanes. But I think with Aho and with Svechnikov specifically, like, I do think there's an ability for them to take over a game. The question is, can they when you get this deep in the postseason? Because they really haven't done it in the Eastern Conference Final, and now they've got their first taste of the Stanley Cup Final. I'll be interested to see how long it takes them to get going, because they have to get going. That is the answer for Carolina.
Well, like I said, if they don't get going, we're gonna be done much earlier than we suspected that we were going to be. It comes down to Vegas can defend their first line with any one of our top three lines. And the opposite of that isn't true. I think, I was thinking about this when you told me we were going to do this. This is coming down to the Golden Knights have too much top-end skill. They have too many good players that have too much experience right now, and I don't think that over the long run, Carolina is going to have an answer for that.
Eddie Rivkin, host of the Hockey Nights in Vegas podcast, joining us here as we dive into the Stanley Cup Final. The Vegas Golden Knights, a 1-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Final over the Carolina Hurricanes, looking to make it 2-0 and a return to Vegas for games 3 and 4. Just what they did against the Colorado Avalanche in the Western Conference Final. We all know how that turned out. All right, Eddie, listen, I want to go big picture here, and then we'll zero in on the Golden Knights a little bit more specifically. But big picture Vegas outlook. 3 Stanley Cup Final appearances in 9 seasons, and they all come with a different head coach. They all come with a different starting goaltender. They all come with a different-looking defense core, a different-looking forward group. When you think of the Golden Knights and extending this window from year 1 to year 9, how much credit, how much do we maybe overlook the impact of Kelly McCrimmon in reinventing this roster every 3 or 4 years to make them a perennial favorite?
Oh, he's everything. There's no between him. Well, he's not everything. Him and George are everything. The fact that they can continue to get character guys, guys who, when they come in, they're welcomed into an incredible culture in the room. The fact that there's no bad seeds. There's no, in all the time we've been there's been a franchise here, we've only had one really sort of dramatic kind of player, and that was James Neal, and he was escorted out pretty summarily early on in his Vegas Golden Knights career. All the credit, all of it goes to Kelly and George for bringing in character guys, for finding out, for understanding what exactly the Golden Knights need to be a contender. If you had Nick Dowd and Cole Smith on your bingo card for the trade deadline acquisitions that were going to give the fourth line the identity to drive the bus to get the Golden Knights where they were, I'll buy you a steak at the Golden Steer, Ryan.
I didn't have it, but now in retrospect, you look at it, and I mean, Nick Dowd is tremendous. You can tell in the way that he carries himself, he conducts himself, the way that he speaks, how he thinks about the game. Like, there's a lot more going on with Nick Dowd than just what his stats would tell you he is as a player. And then, again, Cole Smith, that line knows one direction. It's north. That's how they play. And it really was a turning point for the Golden Knights in game number 1, that they were able to be on the ice, that they were able to get Vegas on the board in the first period without going east-west. Like, that's the whole thing, right? You go back to game 1, you go back to the first 8-9 minutes, the Golden Knights didn't manage the puck well. You put your fourth line out there, they have a hard-working shift in the offensive zone, and it leads to a goal, and that's proof of concept, and that's what turned the game for the Golden Knights.
I agree 100%. I would make the case, Ryan, that this is the first time since the meat grinders that we have a fully identified fourth line. We know exactly what we're going to get. Torts, who hasn't been here that long, has absolute faith in them. They're out taking faceoffs not only in the defensive zone, but in the offensive zone. They're playing against the other team's top lines, and Torts doesn't care. At the end of the game, when we're down to the last couple of minutes and it's rubber hit the road time, they're out there taking face-offs. They're out there playing. And the fact that we have 4 lines that the coach has absolute confidence to play them in any situation is the huge advantage for the Golden Knights.
This is maybe more of a philosophical question than anything else, Eddie, but do you look at this version of the Golden Knights that is now 3 wins away from a Stanley Cup championship as different or wholly different than the team that they were before the coaching change? Like, do you think the Golden Knights are a completely different team now?
I think that they are what we suspected they should have been in September. Mm-hmm. And you can't say Bruce Cassidy is a fantastic NHL coach. He got a Stanley Cup. He fulfilled Mr. Foley's promise of a cup and 6, but things have shelf lives. All coaches seem to have shelf lives. It's not just Bruce Cassidy. Peter DeBoer, if you look at his career, same thing. Comes in, starts out gangbusters. He hasn't got to the top of the mountain, but he's got his teams there. But then after about 3 years, the message goes stale, and then they have to make a change. There's never been a doubt about the talent in the room, but there has been, I think they started to doubt themselves. I think they started to wonder, that I don't think hockey was fun for them toward the end before the coaching change. And it showed in the inconsistencies of the regular season. And astutely enough, Kelly said, we're going to buck the tradition. There's 8 games left. It doesn't matter. We're not producing to the level that we expect to be producing. So we don't have much of anything anyway. So why not make the change, Ryan?
When you start to think about John Tortorella and his impact, where has it been felt the most? Like, where has Torts had the biggest impact with this team?
Between their ears, without a doubt. Between their ears. He has said multiple times, I'm not really even coaching them. X's and O's. Who needs an X and O? He basically came in and reminded them how good a team they were. Yes, he did want them to play faster. Yes, he did want them to play north and south. Yes, he did tell them mistakes are okay if they're mistakes of aggression, not of being passive. But system-wise, they didn't do anything significantly different. They just felt better about themselves when the wise old man came in and said, hey, guys, you've been doing this your whole lives. Go out, have fun, play hockey, play fast. And this, like I said before, this is the Golden Knights team that I think all of us expected to see coming out of the gates in September, October.
Did you have that on your bingo card? Like, Kelly McCrimmon at Media Day said of John Tortorella, like, he was looking for a guy that could give you what Rick Bowness gave the Columbus Blue Jackets, right? That coaching bump, the results, all of it. But there's something about Bowness that just gives players that extra feel of, comfort, right? And John Tortorella has not necessarily been known as that guy throughout his career, except for when you really dive a little bit deeper and you listen to players that loved Torts, that worked really well with Torts, and the idea that John is incredibly open and honest and communicates exactly what he's looking for and needs and is trying to make sure this team understands how good they are. Like, I don't know that I had it on my bingo card, but it kind of makes sense when you start to pay attention to Torts the last couple of years.
Well, if you think about it, when Kelly made that call on that Sunday morning, when Torts was working for ESPN and he was playing with his grandkids and everything like that, and we don't know what was said in the call, but think about it. Torts, his last 2 coaching gigs were in Philadelphia and in Columbus, where he had a whole team full of young kids who he had to teach how to be NHL players first, then teach them how to win. Kelly McCrimmon calls him on the phone and says, hey, we're thinking about making a change here. What do you think about coaching the Vegas Golden Knights? Now, John Tortorella said, wait a second. this is a Ferrari that just needs a tune-up. Mm-hmm. That's all it really was. And to his credit, Torts apparently, with his experience at the Four Nations and his experience as an assistant at the Olympics, has come to respect the players in a different way. Instead of, like he has said, and this is not me making it up, he doesn't talk at the players anymore. He talks to the players, and he gets feedback from the players. So it's a much more interactive experience. And why is it an interactive experience? It's because these players have already been there and done that. And the ones who haven't have assimilated into the Golden Knights culture so successfully and so seamlessly that it's an easy transition for them as well.
Eddie Rivkin, host of the Hockey Nights in Vegas podcast, joining us here as we talk a little bit Vegas Golden Knights, Carolina Hurricanes, Stanley Cup Final. All right, Eddie, zeroing in on the game last night, who had the best pass of the night? Was it Marner to Carlson? Was it Theodore to Howden? Or was it Sissons to Hertl?
I saw that in the text, and I was thinking, Jesus, Ryan, don't ask me that. I'm going to go with Sissons because the other two people, you expect Marner to make those plays. You expect Shea Theodore to have incredible vision, especially from at the blue line in the center. I'm not saying it was an easy pass. I'm not saying that at all. But to see that sort of a finesse move from Colton Sissons, I think was the biggest surprise of the three, so therefore he gets the prize from me.
What are you looking forward to in terms of game number 2 for the Golden Knights? How are you expecting this team to be better?
Well, they're not going to start out the way they started the first 12 minutes of the game, giving up 3 breakaways and very uncharacteristic turnovers by Jack Eichel and Noah Hannafin that ended up in short order in the back of their net. I look at the Golden Knights sort of like how Floyd Mayweather was as a boxer. He took 2 or 3 rounds to sort of figure stuff out, and then he decided how he was going to move forward. I don't want to say that the Golden Knights sort of played patsy, but I think that the Golden Knights weren't exactly ready for the incredible speed that Carolina showed, but then they figured it out. They figured out that if they get into the offensive zone, they can beat Carolina's vaunted man-to-man defense. And there was no better example of that than the game-winning goal from Tomas Hertl, where Shane Gostisbehere was behind him on the wall, behind him after Sissons took the puck, and Gostisbehere was a step behind him the whole way, and it was a pretty easy finish for Hertl because Carolina's defense in zone, their man-to-man defense, didn't stand the test in the pressure from the Vegas Golden Knights, Ryan.
You know, I got to ask you this because Tomas Hertl let everybody know that Joe Pavelski, his former teammate with the San Jose Sharks, reached out to him to kind of help him through the slump that was going on for Hertl, and he scored that night. He's been fantastic ever since. Is that like a full circle moment, Joe Pavelski helping not just Tomas Hertl, but by proxy the Vegas Golden Knights when it matters most? The Stanley Cup is on the line.
He's not getting a ring, Ryan. I'm sorry. You can't have it's not. No, it's not.
No, it heals.
It's not a full circle.
It heals old wounds.
No,
it heals old wounds.
No, nothing heals that wound. They were robbed, and that's it. And I'm sticking to that story. I know that they were good friends. I acknowledge that Joe Pavelski, besides being a faker, was a very, very good NHL goal scorer. And I'm glad that he called his friend Tomas Hertl and helped him out of the death spiral that he seemed to be on. But no, there's no make good for that. Sorry, can't do it.
All right.
I'm a spiteful girl. I can't help it. I don't forgive.
You might be the pettiest person I know, and that's a compliment. Yeah, it's a compliment.
Oh, thank you, sir.
All right, Eddie. Thanks for jumping on and taking some time today. I really appreciate it. What do you got cooking up on the podcast? Anything good?
There isn't much to talk about other than the Stanley Cup Finals, so that's where we're going to stay focused. Saturday night at the Fortress ought to be a barrel of laughs, I think, especially if they come home up 2-0. They said the barn in Carolina was the loudest in the history of the NHL. Well, I think if the Golden Knights come home 2-0, the Fortress is going to be pretty loud.
All right, great stuff, Eddie. Thanks for jumping on and doing this. Soon, buddy.
My pleasure. See you Saturday night.
That is Eddie Rivkin, the host of the Hockey Nights in Vegas podcast, joining us to talk about the Game 1 Stanley Cup Final. The Vegas Golden Knights, a 5-4 victory over the Carolina Hurricanes. We'll come back with Mike Johnston of the NHL Network next. It's the VGK Insider Show on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
Now, back to the VGK Insider Show.
Welcome back to the VGK Insider Show, rolling along here on a Wednesday. It's an off day between games 1 and 2 of the Stanley Cup Final. The Golden Knights, big 5-4 victory last night over the Carolina Hurricanes. And to dive a little bit deeper into it, we bring in Mike Johnson with the NHL Network. You can watch the NHL Network's Mike Johnson on NHL Tonight throughout the Stanley Cup Final. Hey, Mike, thanks for taking some time and being here today on the VGK Insider Show.
Thanks for having me. We like the off days, but we like the game days a bit more, and certainly Vegas likes the game days if they keep winning now. 7 in a row, impressive in a wild first game, guys. I mean, I don't think anyone would have predicted the game would have played out the way it did. Even if you thought Vegas was winning, you didn't think it would look the way it did, but I wonder if that is more a function of the lack of familiarity, the first game jitters, and all that feeling out process. I just don't think we'll see the other games look quite like Game 1.
So kind of along that line, like, what are you expecting the rest of the way? Like, what are you expecting out of Carolina in terms of adjustments going into Game 2? And how do you think the Golden Knights are going to grow into the series? That's something that we have seen them do over the last 3 playoff rounds.
I think for Carolina adjustments, certainly their reads in dealing with the forecheck of Vegas, what Vegas did in the second period is exactly what they want to try to do all the time. And I think Carolina got themselves in trouble with some of the puck management, the decisions going around the boards, leaving the slot open. So they'll probably do some tweaks there. And the other big one is they have a real question, guys, with their first line. The Aho, Svechnikov, Jarvis line, all really good players, have scored 2 goals at 5-on-5 the entire playoffs. For a first line, it's just not been enough, and they weren't very good. They had the worst sort of shot shares and chance shares in Game 1 against Vegas. Rod Brind'Amour finally expressed some frustration with them after Game 1, saying they have to start producing or else we're not going to win. So I don't know if they switch that up because the other lines are working so well. You sort of robbing Peter to pay Paul, but that is a big decision for Carolina. And for Vegas, what are they going to do better? They'll just be more solid. Like, there's going to be moments in the game, Carolina's very good, where they will play on the offensive end and they'll get lots of shots and they'll have that sort of chaotic feeling to the game. That's what they do well. That's why they're in the final. But I thought the first 10, 12 minutes of Game 1, Vegas was really chucking the puck around, putting it in bad spots. We heard Tort on the bench, stop going east-west, you're feeding their transition. That's exactly what they're doing. I imagine all of that stuff will just settle down, and you won't see as many. You'll see occasional mistakes because everyone makes them, but just not nearly as many issues in puck management for Vegas going forward, which will allow them to get to their game more often.
Mike Johnson with the NHL Network joining us here as we take a look back at game number 1, assess where things are between the Golden Knights, the Carolina Hurricanes, and the Stanley Cup Final. More big picture here, not so much in terms of what we expect in game 2 or anything like that, but when you zero in on the Golden Knights, like, this is 3 Stanley Cup Final appearances in their first 9 seasons. When you start to kind of wrap your mind around that, like, what goes into this amount of success this early with an expansion team? Because it's just not something that we see, not just in the National Hockey League, but across all sports.
I think they have very clearly established themselves as the greatest expansion experience in any sport ever. Any major sports, no one's done it like they've done it. And obviously, on a macro level, it starts with what they did with the first year, right? Like, nailing the expansion draft, getting all the assets, fast-tracking the level of expectations, the market responding, having it become a desirable place. All that has fed into the continued excellence that they have enjoyed since then. And, my thought sometimes goes, Vegas doesn't know what the real hockey world is like because they've not experienced sort of the struggles and the losing and the frustrations and the heartbreak. They don't know that. They know winning, and that's all, and that's a credit to them. And they've leveraged very quickly having become a destination place to play, where they identify players who are great players who could play any team in the league, and they go out and get Alex Pietrangelo, and they get Mark Stone, they get Mitch Marner, they get Jack Eichel to augment what they already have in-house. And that has allowed them to extend their window to, from the day they started to today, which is, as we see around the league, it's very hard to be good for more than almost 4 years. Like, that's sort of the upper end limit with the salary cap constraints and everything else. And here Vegas is, coming up on 10 years, and they've been great since day one. Yeah, fans from other markets almost like, this can't be fair. It's not right that they've had so much success early, but they've earned it with the decisions they've made and the way they run their business and the way that the owner operates and the way the market operates, that it's allowed them to extend their window, to this year and even beyond going forward.
I wonder if when you look at Kelly McCrimmon and his history with the Brandon Wheat Kings and junior hockey and having to remake rosters every couple of years, like, is that maybe something that you look at and you view the Golden Knights and it's the perfect confluence of what Kelly McCrimmon used to do and applying it to the National Hockey League as to why the Golden Knights can constantly reinvent themselves every 3 years to keep that window open?
I get, yes, but junior hockey is not the NHL, right? Like, there are competitive advantages that junior teams, whether it's market or however development, that they can tap into to be sort of good. But maybe the sentiment that to be a good executive, whether it's junior or the NHL, you have to be nimble. You have to be willing to be open. You can't be stuck in sentimentality, or I'm not going to say loyalty, but just, you have to be willing to make tough decisions, make changes, grow, evolve. And I think the NHL as a whole, as an industry, has largely been kind of slow to that. Like, there is the idea that you want to reward the guys that have been there, and even if it, to your detriment going forward. And Kelly and Vegas have not been that way. And I think it's a compliment. Like, that is a compliment and part of why they're so successful. But the willingness to make change and to make big change, which you'd have to do in junior, and he has had to do in the NHL and has done it quite successfully, has been a big part of the reason why Vegas is back in another final and once again one of the best teams in the league.
Mike Johnson joining us here on the VGK Insiders Show. You can watch the NHL Network's Mike Johnson on NHL Tonight throughout the Stanley Cup Final, taking a couple of minutes on an off day to discuss the final with us. All right, Shea Theodore, monster game from him last night. John Tortorella was asked earlier today about Shea Theodore, what he liked in his game, and it was the fact for Torts that, Shea makes a mistake on the first play of the game. It leads to Nick Ehlers' goal, and then Shea settles in and has a tremendous game. How have you seen Shea Theodore grow, not just in this postseason, but really throughout the years in the absence of Alex Pietrangelo?
Oh, I think that's it. There was a clip in game one where he was beat there by Ehlers, and he goes down and scores the first minute. The crowd's going crazy. It's very loud there. And Shea's on the bench, and he sort of smiles and almost is saying, okay, I see what we're doing here. Okay, we're fine. I'll be fine. And wouldn't you know it, he is more than fine. There's been a lot on his plate now in Vegas because he's their best puck mover. He's their best skating defenseman. But the growth is that he's now also their best, or one of their best defensive defensemen, right? Like, this year, he didn't play in the power play all the time. The other guys were doing that, and him and Braden McNabb established themselves as a lockdown pair of defensemen. And Shea, for years, was always thought to be, correctly, an offensive-minded guy that would hurt you when he has the puck. But he wasn't a guy you needed to be mindful of when you had it. Like, you were like, okay, Shea Theodore, we can play against him. He's okay, but he's not a great defensive defenseman. And I think through maturity and through necessity, given Pietrangelo's departure, he's had to take that on. But like so many great players, he's presented a challenge. He finds a solution, and he finds a way to thrive when asked to do that. And he's done that all year long for Vegas. He's done it in the playoffs. But the offense is still there. I mean, I was at the Olympics. I covered standing between the benches, watching him with the best players in the world. And, the fluidity that he skates with and the way he's able to pass the puck when he's on top of his game, plus, to defend at that high level, that's the number one defenseman. And they really need to lean on him because game one, the second pair of Andersson and Hannafin didn't have a strong game, but McNabb and Theodore were there to pick them up and help lead them to the win. And he's so much more well-rounded now than he has been, up until this year. The defense has taken a big step forward. The actual defending has taken a big step forward this year, and it's had to.
Mike, I got to ask you, and this is not an easy question, but you look at some of the plays that the Golden Knights put on display last night to score goals. The passes that were completed for those plays were tremendous. You've got Marner to Carlson. You've got Theodore to Howden. You've got Sissons to Hurdle, and even Eichel to Barbashev. Which pass was the best pass of the night that led directly to a goal for the Golden Knights?
Well, the best pass, only because of who did it, it's called Sissons, right? Sissons is not Mitch Marner. He's not Shea Theodore. He's not Jack Eichel. And yet, when the game was on the line, he's got two wingers who are world-class players in Hurdle and Stone. For him to take that puck on the boards, he's facing the glass, and he goes backhand, no-looker, through a seam, on the tape, and Hurdle puts it in because all Hurdle does is score now, apparently, after going 2 months without it. I think Sissons had the best pass. I will say this, though. Shea Theodore had the best movement pre-pass. He went Allen Iverson on poor Sean Walker, breaking his ankles, dropped him, and then slid it to the back door for Howden to tap it in. But of all those players, you'd expect that from Theodore and from Marner. Maybe a bit surprised by Colton Sissons, and the timing of it in the game makes it the best one of the night.
Yeah, I'm with you. I couldn't agree more. I think Sissons' play to Hurdle was phenomenal, and you mentioned it. Now Tomas Hurdle in the last 3 games has 2 game-winning goals, a big one in Game 3 against the Colorado Avalanche in the Western Conference Final, and certainly the game winner last night in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Are you observing anything different with Hurdle, or is it just a situation where goal scorers get confidence and now they can't miss?
It's a bit of both. I mean, I think when you start to struggle, and there's no doubt that Tomas was, everything gets a bit slower, right? You think a little bit more. You're trying to be too fine with your shots. You're double clutching pass receptions. It's not as clean. It gets slower. And the margins for success in the NHL are so fine that being a tenth of a second slower is often enough for that pass to get blocked or the shot to be deflected or the goalie to make the save. And now it's more instinctive. It's fluid. It's quicker. It's sharper. And that probably has a lot to do with confidence. Although one of the best stories that came out in the last couple of days was that as Tomas Hurdle was struggling, he got a call from his former San Jose Sharks teammate in Joe Pavelski. Little Joe saw on a broadcast that he hadn't scored in 29 games. So Joe called him up and they had a conversation and Joe gave him some thoughts. And the next game he scored. And he's been a point-a-game player since then. He's got 4 goals and 4 assists in the last 8 games, which makes you wonder, Joe, what you've been watching in early April and March? Like, help him out before he gets to 29 games. Maybe call him after 5. But that's pretty cool, Joe Pavelski. He doesn't work for the Vegas Golden Knights. He's a San Jose Sharks guy through and through. And but he saw a teammate and a friend struggling. He offered him some thoughts. He seemingly turned things around. And if Hurdle is good, like he can be, and your third line is Hurdle and Stone and whoever, that's really good. And then the William Karlsson back, and it's Marner and Howden, who's playoff Howden, who can't stop scoring. That's really good. And then Jack, of course, is Jack, and he's really good. The layered offense that Vegas has now is so dangerous and so tough to match up against. And part of the reason why, as series go along, it seems like Vegas gets better. Because they figure out the opponent, and then they have the depth in their forward group, especially, to wear teams out. And that's what they've done on their way to a 1-0 lead in the final.
All right, Mike, last one for me. You just mentioned the depth for the Golden Knights. That's a testament to Kelly McCrimmon and what he's built in terms of the roster. But, there's no getting around, right? The fact that the Golden Knights made a coaching change with 8 games left in the regular season. John Tortorella comes in, goes 7-0-1 in the regular season. Now, he is 13-4 in the postseason. Like, how much credit do you give Torts for what the Golden Knights have been able to do over the last 2 months?
So I had Torts The first day he was a head coach in the National Hockey League in Tampa back in 2000. Like, he was my head coach back in those days. And he's a calmer, gentler John Tortorella now. But when I give him credit, not for revamping what Vegas does. He hasn't changed that much the way they play, D-zone coverages. He understood, okay, what am I here in Vegas for and what am I not here for? I'm not in Vegas because they don't know how to defend and because they're not organized and because they're undisciplined. That's not why I'm here. They are all those things at an elite level before he arrived. Why he's in Vegas is because the players didn't want to be around the old head coach. Like, they had grown tired of being around Bruce Cassidy. And so that's where he recognized, okay, I don't have to change. And so he went in and said, I'm not changing the stuff we're good at, but I am going to be a different personality than the previous coach. And it's worked beautifully for him, even in moments where you think he might get mad or he might, have some of that emotion or that temper that we've seen in his career. He doesn't go down that road because the old coach was probably harder on the players than they wanted to respond to. So he's not going down that road. I think that's very smart. The one thing Torts can't get credit for, or maybe he can, is Carter Hart reappearing healthy and on top of his game. Because those two things happened around the same time where Torts got hired and Carter Hart started playing. And Vegas, who was good with goaltending for most of the year, now became good with good goaltending, and the wins started piling up. So maybe it's Torts' relationship with Carter Hart, or maybe it's just Carter Hart arriving at the same time. But, yeah, Torts deserves credit, but the foundation was there for him to step into, and he's just sort of allowed the players to play freely and happily come to the rink every day, and he's getting great results because of it.
Yeah, Mike, this was tremendous, awesome stuff. Thanks so much for jumping in and taking part of your day on again, an off day, and enjoy the rest of the Stanley Cup Final. Maybe we can connect when you're in Vegas.
Yeah, sounds good. We'll be out there in a couple of days, and looking forward to doing that.
All right, great stuff. That is Mike Johnson with the NHL Network joining us as we take a bigger, higher-level overview of the Stanley Cup Final through Game 1 into Game 2 tomorrow. We'll take a break, come back with more in a moment. It's the VGK Insider Show on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
You're listening to the VGK Insider Show.
VGK Insider Show rolling along here. Day off between Game 1 and 2 of the Stanley Cup Final. Vegas Golden Knights have a 1-0 lead in the series. 5-4 victory last night over the Carolina Hurricanes. There were no shortages throughout the game of big moments, big plays. And the passing, the plays that Vegas made to score were tremendous. We highlighted, touched on it a little bit with Mike Johnson and Eddie Rivkin. The pass from Shea Theodore to Brett Howden backdoor was tremendous, but it wasn't just the pass. It was the movement from Shea Theodore. Then Mitch Marner winning a battle below the goal line. No-look backhander right on the tape of William Karlsson. But, I mean, the pass of the game, the play of the game, Colton Sissons to Tomas Hertl right in the middle of the slot. Game winner for Hertl. No-look backhand pass from Sissons right on the tape. I mean, it was unbelievable. And that's the thing for me with Vegas in this series against Carolina. Golden Knights created tremendous opportunities and chances. I don't think that's going to change as we get deeper in the series. Hour number 2 is coming up next. You'll hear from John Tortorella, Mark Stone, Rasmus Andersson, Nick Dowd, and Cole Smith. All that's coming at you. Stay right here on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
Live from the Richard Harris Law Firm Studios.
El disparo de Shea. El disparo. ¡Gol! Ahí está el disparo del 27 Alejandro Romo. Shea Theodore.
This is the VGK Insiders Show.
Lo recupera Jack Eichel. Lo pone frente a la red. El disparo. ¡Gol! 30 segundos Alejandro Romo. Marner lo tiene. Lo pone frente a la red. ¡Gol! William Karlsson, Alejandro Romo.
With Darren Millard and Ryan Wallace.
Se quita uno, Shea, el disparo. ¡Gol! ¡Qué jugada, señores! Acaba de mandar el equipo de los Vegas Golden Knights. Para Hertl frente a la portería. ¡Gol! ¡Tomás Hertl! ¡Sí! ¡Victoria para los Vegas Golden Knights! Es la primera para el equipo.
On Fox Sports Las Vegas.
VGK Insider Show rolling along on a Wednesday. Jesus Lopez on the call last night for the Vegas Golden Knights, a 5-4 victory in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. Vegas overcame a lot in Game 1. This is not an uncommon theme for this team over the course of the playoffs. It has not been an uncommon theme for the team over the course of the regular season, and that was one of the aspects that was talked about today during the Golden Knights media availability. You had variations of the same theme over and over and over again across Mark Stone, Rasmus Andersson, Nick Dowd, Cole Smith, and John Tortorella. Number one, there's no panic in this group, right? Like we've talked about it at times with Vegas this year. Going through adversity in the regular season is important. It matters. It means something. And when you're able to come out the other side, or more specifically, when you're able to find ways to get going through adversity, when you are trailing in a game and you can wrestle momentum back, you can deal with momentum swings, it will battle test you. It will make you more capable in those moments when everything is heightened just that much more. And that's what playoffs are all about. That's what the Stanley Cup Final is all about. Again, it is all about managing those swings, not getting too high, not getting too low. And part of that for Vegas is coming out of game number one. In spite of the fact that you win the game, now you're 3 wins away from a Stanley Cup championship. You can't get in your head about that either. You can't get too high about that either, because the fact of the matter is, and we've talked about it in the Western Conference Final, we had talked about it at various stages against Utah and Anaheim in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs, the job's not done. Right, the Golden Knights are 1 game closer. They're 1 win closer, but the job is not finished for Vegas in any capacity, and that's where John Tortorella is leading a masterclass, right? For Vegas, their best game of the postseason every single time they've gotten to that point has been a closeout game. John gets them closer and closer and closer to the 60-minute effort they need to have in order to put away an opponent and move on to the next round. That is all a battle of making sure the players are in the moment, making sure that they understand just how good they are, and then going out there and playing free to a certain degree. And I think that's really what my takeaway is today from listening to the players. Yeah, they talked about the depth of this organization, of this team, the fact that they can roll over 4 lines and trust everybody in any situation, or that you can get big-time perfect plays down your lineup just as much as you can get it up your lineup from the guys that you count on and depend on to do it. But it's also that this team just doesn't panic. This team understands that swings will happen and that hockey is a 60-minute game. I'll tell you, I was on social media. I had the text line up yesterday. I saw what the discourse was after 2-0, 8 minutes into the game. And at no point watching that game did I think at 2-0 Carolina it was over. Because that's just not how the playoffs work. And give Carolina credit, right? Like, they went down 3-2, tied the game. 4-3, tied the game. They dealt with momentum swings as well. Didn't handle it quite as well as the Golden Knights did. But the fact of the matter is, this is a team that has had plenty of practice through adversity all season long, in the postseason, all of it. And the Golden Knights passed the test every single time. Now, they've got to do it 3 more times. Got to find a way to get 3 more wins, because as nice as it is to have 1 win under your belt in the Stanley Cup Final, that does not guarantee you anything. You have to keep pushing forward. So as mentioned, we're going to hear from Mark Stone, Rasmus Andersson right now. And what I loved about Stone and Andersson is just how much appreciation you get from those 2 players of the skill set of everybody on the team, from Colton Sissons to Shea Theodore, all of it. They dive into it, and really it hones in on the depth of the Golden Knights and why that is such a weapon this time of the year.
Hi, Mark. Hello. 9 guys last night hit the score sheet. Are you seeing a similarity to 2023 during that run when you had contributions up and down the lineup? And how important is it for the team to get bottom six scoring help?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the way we built teams here, especially when we're playing at our best is when we have 4 lines, 60, and that's the way I think our best teams have always been built. So I don't think it's
left side, third row, Greg.
Hey there, Mark. Greg Wyshynski, ESPN. Torts was just talking about how despite there being a 2-0 deficit last night, there was absolutely no panic from you guys. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what the makeup of the team is to not freak out when you're down 2-0 in game 1 of the final.
I think the makeup is we've been through a lot of different scenarios over the course of the 82-game season this year. In the past, we faced a lot of adversity throughout this season, good and bad. So we haven't panicked in those situations. We know that if we can continue to play, it was early in the game, right? We still had 50 minutes left to get things back on track. And if you start to change and you start to chase the game, usually it doesn't go so well for you. So we have done a really good job at just sticking to the way we play, not taking too much unnecessary risk. We were able to get ourselves back in the game.
Right side, second row, Jesse.
Sorry, Rasmus isn't also for Mark. No. Oh. Just support. You guys have talked a lot about the mental aspects of why you guys have been good late in games, coming back, and it just seems like this team's been so strong in the third period. Do you think there are physical aspects to that, whether it's the strength of the team or the fitness of the team that has led to how good you guys are late in games, late in series?
I think it probably comes back to the depth of the team. We're rolling our 4 lines, we're rolling our 3D pairs. I don't think anybody's getting overextended. We have a lot of trust in everybody that goes on the ice, so I think that's a huge benefit for us. You can kind of roll over, keep guys fresh.
Left side, second row, Darren.
Start with Ras and Mark. Comment on this. You watched the hurdle goal in real time, but the play by Sissons, you've now watched it back again. What was your reaction to that pass and the execution?
Sick pass. That was my first thought. And we watched it, obviously after the game too, when you see the highlights of the game, but just a nasty pass.
Left side, fourth row, Sean.
This is for Mark. Mark, you were talking about the different scenarios this team went through this year. It's pretty late in the year that you guys are playing in a way that you're not overly happy with. I'm wondering, you're the captain of the team, you got your finger on the post. Did you ever get the sense that at some point you guys were losing hope in the idea that you could get to this kind of game and this level that you're at now?
I don't know about losing hope, but it wasn't. We weren't playing great for sure. We weren't getting the timely goals and the timely, clutch moments. But I've always believed in the team that's been assembled. So I definitely knew that there was an opportunity to get it back. We just had to hurry up. Fortunate that I think we won 7 out of our last 8 games and really started to get playing well going into the most opportune or the most important time, which is the middle of April, and build your game and continue to get better, which we've done.
Right side, front row, Eric.
Rasmus, can you use a different word than sick to describe the pass that Shea Theodore made to set up that first goal and the impact that goal had on you guys getting back in the game?
Nasty pass. I mean, obviously it was the start of the third, right? That's the one you're talking about. Yeah. I mean, what was it? 2-2, 3-2 at that point or something. And, it's obviously massive to get goals, and especially late in or early in the third to play with the lead. And, I thought we did a good job after that, shutting them down. And then, it's kind of a broken play off a face-off. They get one, and, we answer right back. So I think, as Stoney said, that's been our strength of our team all season long.
Left side, front row, Danny.
For either one of you guys, when Mitch blocks that shot and everybody runs over to him first before going to Carter, I'm just curious, one, your thoughts on the block, and two, is that the perfect way to describe this time of year? Is that anybody and everybody's got to be willing to get in front of shots at this time of year?
Yeah, I mean, you do whatever you can to keep the puck out of the net, and Mitch kind of got picked there off the draw, just kind of sold out. I think he was just kind of in the way. That's why we got to him first. I had to stop and say thanks, or say good job to him. No, he's come as advertised. He's done anything he can to help this team win. When he sold out to block that shot in the game, it just shows the buy-in that he has.
Take a few more. Right side, front row, Aaron.
Rasmus, taking game one and stealing home ice advantage in the Stanley Cup final is a win amongst itself, but how do you make sure that you're not satisfied with just going home with a split?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we play to win the game tomorrow, and we're in a similar situation in Colorado where, all your focus is always on the next game. You want to win every game you play, and so it's a similar situation as we've been in, and we're going to do everything we can to win the game tomorrow.
Left side, second row, Ken.
For Rasmus, how did you think you guys handled their forecheck pressure, especially early in the game and then as it went on?
Well, especially early, I didn't think we handled it too well. We're down 2-0, 8 minutes into the game, so early we probably didn't handle it too well, but I mean, they played a similar style for the last 7 years, however long Brendamore's been there. But they put pressure on you. They flip a lot of pucks at the D-man, and usually they come that 2-1-2, or in the forecheck they come really heavy on us. So it's all about the support, and sometimes you just gotta be happy with getting the puck out of the zone, and kind of do it to them as they do to us.
Last one, right side, fourth row.
Mark, all year you guys have been pulling off these comebacks, but to do it in round 3 against a team that doesn't give, when they get the lead, they don't stop, and then to do it against another defensively sound team, I guess, what is it mentally, physically, emotionally, where there's never panic, there's never quit, you just know you're going to be able to come back?
Well, it's a long series, so you're always just building, trying to get better no matter what the score is. So I think for us, the panic's not there, but we just keep playing the way we're supposed to. Like I always say, you change your game. A lot of teams change their game when they get down a couple, and that's when games get out of reach. So we feel comfortable with the way that we play, that you're going to have success. It's a 60-minute game. There's a lot of momentum swings, especially in playoffs. So, like I said, you continue to keep playing your brand of hockey, one that you believe brings you success. Eventually, if you keep going, keep grinding the way we have, we feel like we will have success.
So that was Mark Stone and Rasmus Andersson. They met with the media earlier today in Carolina. Rasmus Andersson, big fan of the pass from Shea Theodore to Brett Howden, a big fan of the pass from Colton Sissons to Tomas Hertl, the one that helps win the game for the Golden Knights. But also discussed was the block from Mitch Marner with just a couple of seconds left off of the faceoff. Carolina with a 6-on-5 trying to tie the game, feverishly trying to tie the game. And, Mark Stone touched on it, right? There's a bit of a pick for Marner. He was trying to get through coverage. And I don't know if Marner's trying to get out of the way or not, right? It doesn't matter. I don't care. It's a huge blocked shot from one of your best offensive players, a guy that is selling out trying to help win a game. And you look at Mitch Marner, the impact that he has on the team, the impact that he has on the game. He makes a huge play in the second period to give the Golden Knights a lead by winning a play down below the goal line, and he delivers a phenomenal pass to William Karlsson, who puts it home. But I would argue maybe the more impactful play from Mitch Marner last night isn't the pass to Karlsson. but it's the block with seconds winding down to help preserve a 1-goal victory in Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Final. And that is what star players must do, right? You heard it from Mark Stone. It just talked about it. It's part of playoff hockey. It's part of how you need to play in order to be successful, in order to win at this time of the year. And whether Mitch was trying to get out of the way or not, he got in the way. He helped win the game because of that block. And it is a play that should be championed, even if it's something everyone is expected to do. So I love that they talked about that. Obviously, Rasmus Andersson talking about the forecheck from Carolina. Yeah, it was good early. They were able to get to Vegas early on in the game. But as soon as the Golden Knights cleaned up the East-West play, they were able to get through the neutral zone. They were able to get pucks behind the defense of Carolina, and they were able to play in the offensive zone. I thought the Golden Knights did a great job turning the momentum in the back half of the first period and certainly through the second period. A big part of that was their fourth line and Nick Dowd, Cole Smith. They spoke to the media earlier today in Carolina. Among the topics they discussed were certainly the play from Colton Sissons to Tomas Hertl to win the game for the Golden Knights, but also the depth. Again, that's a theme that's going to come through as we go through the audio here. So here's Nick Dowd and Cole Smith earlier today in Carolina.
Nick and Cole, chime in. The pass by Colton Sissons on the goal. Just your reaction now you had a time to watch it again.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, probably one of the nicer passes I've seen in a long time. I mean, the ability for him to corral the puck and then find Tommy. Nonetheless, Sizzy does it on his backhand. Yeah, it was a high-level play, and then he put it into a puck-size hole. So yeah, it was a perfect play, but I don't think it surprised any of us. It's just a great play by Sizz, and he makes a lot of great plays. So.
Right side, second row, Jesse.
Over here for Nick. We've talked a lot about the poise you guys show late in games when you're down, but do you think there's a physical aspect, whether it's strength or fitness, that makes this team so good late in games and late in series?
I just think I think a lot of it points to depth. I think we have 4 lines that can play against any line on any team, in my opinion, and I think that is a strong point of our team. You look at the guys that are making those plays at the end of games, and they're different throughout this playoff run. Smitty has a huge goal against Colorado. Sizz, Tommy make huge plays at the end of last game. Barbie, Dory. It's just the list goes on, and I think that's a strong point of our team. Also I think the benefit too is that you kind of look at the guys that are able to finish out a game, maybe 5 versus 6, and that can change too. I mean, you look down the lineup, there's 12 forwards that could play that role, and so yeah, I don't think it's as much of a physical aspect. I think Carolina is probably a very in shape team as well as our team, but I just think that the depth helps us there.
Right side, back row, Eric.
For both you guys, can you just talk about the impact Shea Theodore had on last night's game, but also throughout these whole playoffs for you guys?
Yeah, he's been amazing. Offensively, he kind of leads our group back there, and he makes big plays for us. Getting on the board last night with the first goal, but you kind of changed the momentum of the game. Down 2-0 early in the first, and be able to get one and just down one there, it's huge. So he's kind of our heartbeat back there, and he's been producing offensively.
Yeah, I think Shea holds a lot of responsibility for this group. He's a veteran player in the NHL, and he's changed his game throughout his career. Right, he's not only an offensive, or he not only has high end offensive capability, but he plays against the other team's top lines with Navar a lot. And I think those two really really pair well together. Obviously, they've been playing together for a while, and Shea. I think what makes him so challenging to play against is his ability to create space for himself, and then he's not, he doesn't get stubborn. He makes the first pass typically. He's really good at breaking the puck out, and then he gets the pucks in the forward's hands, and And then when he has the ability to have some offense, he's got really, really high hockey IQ. So he's able to capitalize on those situations.
Left side, second row, Ken.
For Nick, against a team like Carolina that really thrives on their forecheck, how important is it for the forwards to help break out? And then, what does it take to be helpful in that respect?
Yeah, I mean, I think as a centerman, specifically, you have to outnumber the puck. I think, Carolina does such a good job at entering the zone and puck recoveries that you need 5 guys around the puck, and you need to at times stop, and you need to understand that advancing the puck without a tape-to-tape play is a win in a lot of circumstances. And they've done it to teams all season, right? They play like that too. They get a lot of pucks out in the neutral zone. They put a lot of pressure on defensemen, and then they want to play down in the offensive zone, which you do that over and over and over, and consistently, and good things are going to happen. And I think we have to do the same to them. But I think again, like with our forward group. Not every time is the centerman got to be the low guy, right? Smitty plays a lot down the pipe when I'm trying to get back, and Coley does the same for our line, and those guys are capable of doing it, and just as much as I can play wing when I have to. So yeah, it's a 5-man effort for sure. It's not just on the D-man.
Right side, third row, Dan.
Yeah, either one of you guys can answer this. It looked yesterday like you guys were looking to funnel pucks into the slot when you had the puck in the zone. It wasn't necessarily always put it right on net. It was getting it into the slot, and it worked, obviously, on a number of goals. How key is that to breaking down their defensive structure, and how important will that philosophy be for you guys as you keep going forward here?
Yeah, I think it's kind of been a philosophy for us throughout the playoffs, is getting a lot of pucks to the net from different angles, especially against the defense that they play, really structured man-on-man where they're really hard on you. So down the walls isn't always they're going to try to cut those off, and then they're on you there. So anytime we can kind of reset and get some motion, even if it's off net and goes the other way, our defenseman can come down. And it's just an ability for us to kind of create more offense that way instead of kind of getting, shut down on the walls kind of thing. And so it's worked pretty well for us. And we just got to keep, putting more pucks towards the net.
Left side standing, Dave.
Hey, Nick, just in real time last night, you're down 2 early, first 8 minutes. The building's going crazy. What can you do what do you look to do as a group in real time to make sure the game doesn't get away from you? What do you focus on?
Yeah, I mean, I think you and I talked about that, right? Like, there's going to be a lot of momentum changes throughout this playoff series. I think the team that can manage those the best and continue to play consistently is a team that's going to eventually have success. I think, in that building too, right? The crowd gets loud. The team, I would say Carolina does a good job of working with that momentum, and they've always been a team that comes out hard, at least from when I played them over my career, and they can use that momentum to their advantage. But I think, like, you see it throughout playoffs all the time, any sport, right? Like a team that cannot manage the momentum, and then all of a sudden the game gets away from you, it creates a lot of problems down the stretch, because there's going to be momentum changes. You're going to fall behind in games, but you keep that game close. You see it in the Colorado series, right? Like, they go up 1-0 early. We don't score a goal for another 40 minutes, but we were able to play good hockey. You keep it close, and then you put the puck in Jack Eichel's hands, and good things happen, right? So I mean, it's a game of patience, and we have to be a patient team, and I think you got to be able to capitalize on your opportunities, but you got to stay even keel. You got to stay calm, and try and work through that as a team. So.
Take one more, right side, fourth row, Mike.
For either of you, early in the game, the first period, their defense was being effective by flipping pucks from their own end into the neutral zone and kind of forechecking and forcing you guys. What did you do to compensate? Because that stopped being effective, and they actually stopped trying to do it as you got into the second period.
Yeah, obviously that's the way they want to play, and they want to create offense that way. I think a big thing is kind of keeping our D to the middle, and then also, we're going to have D pinching down a lot, and so it's a lot of responsibility too on the forwards to be able to see that and recognize that and be back and kind of limit those odd man rushes that they like to create. I also think for us, being able to get the puck all the way in and kind of work them on the boards rather than middle of the ice, I think is huge for us. But yeah, they're a really quick transition team, so a lot of east-west plays that are kind of like little hopers, they can turn into offense real quick. And so that's kind of one thing we kind of focused on, is kind of getting away from a lot of those east-west plays we had early and, just getting it north and, getting on them that way and limit those chances that they have to create those odd man rushes.
That's Cole Smith and Nick Dowd as they addressed the media earlier today in Carolina, and I think that's probably the best place to kind of put a bow on it, right? For the Golden Knights, when they got out of the mindset of making east-west plays, when they got out of the habit of making east-west plays in game number 1, they were able to effectively shut off the offense, the transition for the Carolina Hurricanes. Carolina had 3 breakaways in the first period. 3. I don't think they had another breakaway the rest of the game. And that is a product of the Golden Knights just taking better care of the puck. And my expectation going into game number 2, it doesn't guarantee anything. It doesn't guarantee wins for Vegas or anything like that. But I would expect the Golden Knights will be buttoned up in that regard from opening faceoff all the way through the final horn, right? Like, that is where they improve. That is where they get better. They need to take care of the puck against the Carolina Hurricanes, because if you turn it over and you're careless with it and you are going east-west and you're trying to make hope plays, that's where the Hurricanes can really make you pay. So for Vegas, it's very, very simple. Get better every single game. You've got a 1-0 lead in the series and an opportunity to take the first 2 games in Carolina and come back home for games 3 and 4 of the Stanley Cup Final with an opportunity to really do some damage. So it's right there for the taking for the Vegas Golden Knights. They've got to get better game over game. We're going to come back with one-timers. We'll also hear from John Tortorella next. It's the VGK Insider Show on Fox Sports Las Vegas.
Carlson left corner, centered, one-timer, score!
It's time for One-Timers. A quick look at news and notes from around the National Hockey League. Brought to you by Paul Pata Law. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery.
One-timers, news notes from around the National Hockey League, brought to you by Paul Pata Law. It's not about the injury, it's about the recovery. A couple of things, and then we'll get to John Tortorella, his media availability from earlier today. John Cooper, Jack Adams Award winner. First time in his career, John Cooper is considered the best coach in the National Hockey League today. Now, he beat out Lindy Ruff, who helped the Sabres end a 14-season playoff drought in Buffalo, and Dan Muse in his first season with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh, of course, made the playoffs. Were not expected to do so at the beginning of the year. So, in both cases, Lindy Ruff and Dan Muse, you look at it as a most improved team nomination to a certain degree. Now, the Sabres were excellent. I think Lindy Ruff probably should have been Jack Adams Award winner this year because of the work that he did, because of what he was able to do and accomplish with the Sabres. Like, listen, Lindy Ruff, it was a heck of a season for him. However, the fact that John Cooper has never won the Jack Adams before is unbelievable to me. And it's not to say that John Cooper is getting this award as a lifetime achievement. It's not the case at all. Cooper did a great job with Tampa this year. Now, you can quibble, you can argue with his record in the postseason over the last couple of years since winning back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. The fact of the matter is, Cooper helped this Tampa Bay team that is in change, in flux to a 50-26-6 record, and there were multiple key injuries to key players, star players throughout the season. In so many ways, John Cooper has been deserving of this award many, many times over. However, he gets it this year. It's about time. It's a just and right decision. And quite frankly, when John Cooper showed up to the Stadium Series in his fit, he locked up the Jack Adams that night. It was tremendous. A coach having fun. Who'd have thought? All right. More awards talk. Zach Werenski wins the Norris Trophy. First time in his career that he has won the Norris Trophy. Best defenseman in the National Hockey League. Beat out Cale Makar and Rasmus Dahlin. Runner-up last season. Werenski's been great over 2 years, right? And I know that a lot of people are probably going to be like, well, Columbus didn't make the playoffs. I'll be real honest here. When it comes to Werenski and Columbus and what he means to that hockey club, he had them in the fight as long as he could. He had them in the fight as long as he could. He wins a gold medal with Team USA at the Olympics. It's been a great story for Zach Werenski over the last couple of years. 22 goals, 59 assists, 81 points this season for Werenski. I think he's going to be in the conversation for the next handful of years, right? I think we all know and understand and recognize very simply that the best defenseman in the game right now, Cale Makar, Quinn Hughes. Like, that's 1A and 1B, and then it's everybody else. Werenski is right at the top of that everybody else, looking to break through and be the perennial guy. A couple notes here on Toronto. They are set to interview Patrick Waugh and Peter Laviolette for their current coaching vacancy. It'll be interesting. I would love to see Patrick Waugh back behind a bench. I love Patrick Waugh. I love the fiery personality, all the things that he brings to the table. So that would be interesting. But I don't have a real clear sense of where Toronto is going to go in terms of their next coach. And listen, Gary Bettman, he may be 74 years old. There might be a succession plan in place. But the rumors of his demise are exaggerated. Gary Bettman, retirement, not imminent. Those are your one-timers for today. All right. As promised, here's John Tortorella from earlier today. Again, an off day between games 1 and 2 in the Stanley Cup Final. John Tortorella spoke with the media earlier. Here are his comments.
Down 2-0 last night. How much credit does your
I can't
fourth
see
line...
anybody.
I'm over here.
Yeah.
How much credit does your fourth line get for instigating that comeback?
Well, our fourth line gets credit just the way they play. Playing straight ahead. I think one of the biggest parts of the game was scoring our first goal before Carolina got to 3. They had a lot to do with that. Coley has a screen. Shea makes a good play getting the puck to the net. They've been, in playoffs, your third and fourth lines, sometimes your most important lines. And we have certainly got play out of ours.
Left side, third row, Greg.
Hey, Greg Wyshynski, ESPN. How much of that game was a proof of concept game for you? I mean, once your guys got to what your game plan was, it seemed like the game really shifted in your favor.
Yeah, but even in the first period, when they were up 2-0, I still thought we had some good minutes. We're down 2-0 pretty quick, but we got the whole hockey game to play. So we're just trying to do what we think is best to compete against that team, and trying to do it as consistently as possible.
Left side, second row, Kevin.
Kevin, Toronto Star. John, your approach as a coach, and really as apparently a human being, you don't couch your words. Your message is straight and direct and honest, and players seem to respond to that. I wonder how you got to that kind of philosophy in dealing with people and players.
Well, I think it's out of respect to the players. I'm going to be honest with them in everything we do. With this group here, we're collaborative. We're always talking. I don't think any player should leave the building not understanding where they stand, good or bad, or what our team concept is. I just think it's treating them like men, and we've always gone about it that way.
Left side, front row, Danny.
It's not surprising you ask anybody who's willing to get in front of shots, block shots, but when Mitch makes that block shot at the end of the game, just what's going through your mind, and the fact that he did it, just what does that say about his
part of playing defense? Everybody does it. It's one of the things that I think is one of the strengths of our team. The veteran guys that have been here and understand what it takes, they do it. I don't like what happened on the beginning of the face-off. I think we get picked inside and puts Mitch in a spot, but he gets the job done. So that's just, I don't think that's anything special. I think that's part of playing defense, especially at this time of year.
Right side, third row, Dan.
John, you talked about it last night that there were some lessons for you guys to take out of that game, and it looked like you learned some of those lessons early in that game, and they burned you on. The value of that learning early with time remaining and early in the series too, how does that help your team right now as it looks ahead to?
Well, it's game one. We win game one, and to me, yeah, there are some just some of the turnovers that we had, but there are other ones even later in the game that we're going to have to get better at. We're going to have to play better. We find a way to win a game, but they're not just the ones that you see that turn into goals, but there are other things that we're going to have to be better at as we go into game two.
Right side back row, Eric.
John, Eric Francis with Sportsnet back here. Could you just speak a little bit to the impact that Shea Theodore had on the game last night and what you've seen from him since you've arrived in Vegas?
Yeah, the thing I liked about Shea last night is he gets spanked on the first goal, but then it does not bother him, and probably plays one of his better games of the playoff series. Just so good with the puck. I thought he did some really good things as far as his stick, stick on puck. In our D zone, I thought he was strong. I thought him and Naber were a really good pair. I think it's a great lesson for all of our guys, young or old, how it was a bad mistake early on. It cost us right away, but he just played. I think it's a really good lesson for all of us to see.
Right side front row, Eric.
John, I remember after game one in Colorado, you were asked about not being satisfied with the split and trying to come away with 2 on the road. Does the messaging here change, or the delivery of the messaging change at all with the chance to do it here?
Not for a second. I mean that's to me, that's common sense. You win one, you want to win the next one. You don't want to let any momentum slip away. Yeah, that's not extraordinary to me. That's just getting ready to play your next game, try to win it.
Left side, fourth row.
Hi, Coach. Alex Belcastro, News 3 Las Vegas. You talk a lot about identity. What part of your team's identity showed up most last night in Game 1?
Well, I think the biggest thing that showed up is there wasn't panic. We knew, and again, it looked bad. We're down 2-0, but I still thought we got to our game early in a few shifts, but we're down 2-0, and I just think we kept our patience, tried to find our game more consistently, and we did. Still made some mistakes at crucial times in the second period. I thought we had a few mistakes in the third period that we're going to have to correct. But I just thought we stayed together. I think that's the biggest attribute that I have seen with this team in the short time I've been with them, is they stay together. It's not they don't break apart, and I think that gets you through some situations. And we're playing against a very good team. We're going to have things happen to us tomorrow that we're going to have to stick together to try to find a way.
So that's John Tortorella from earlier today as he addressed the media. There's a couple of things that I think stand out above the rest. Number one, on Mitch Marner and the block shot, right? That is not extraordinary in the sense that that's what you need to do to play winning defense to help win games. However, the fact that it's Marner doing it, the fact that you are getting it from not just Mitch Marner, but you get it from Jack Eichel, you get it from Mark Stone, you get it from anybody that puts that sweater on, is a testament to this team and how they play, and not just playing for individually themselves, but for one another as a team. Number two, Shea Theodore, the idea that, Shea makes a mistake on the Nick Ehlers goal that was scored 25 seconds into the game. Shea tries to pinch, Ehlers beats him, and then he blows up the ice and beats Carter Hart. And it's a 1-0 Carolina. The barn is absolutely firing on all cylinders, and there's no panic in Shea Theodore's game. Yeah, he made a mistake. Those are going to happen. It's an imperfect game. Hockey is. And yet Shea Theodore comes back and has a tremendous game for the Golden Knights. He scores the first goal of the game for Vegas, which was incredibly important to get on the board in the first period, and then is just controlling the game the rest of the way. A lot of this season has been about Shea Theodore finding another gear, not offensively, but overall in the entirety of his game. And certainly he fit the bill last night. Number one defenseman, that's Shea Theodore, and he was excellent the rest of the way. And then, Tort's kind of talking about what we mentioned in the Western Conference Final against Colorado. Why be satisfied here, right? Like every time the cliche that we get when you go on the road in the postseason is you want the split, you want the split, you want the split. Well, what happens after you win game number one? Are you just supposed to be okay with getting a split at that point? Are you good with losing the next game? No, absolutely not. For John Tortorella, the Vegas Golden Knights, the objective here, it's very, very simple. Win the next game. Win every game. That's what the Golden Knights want to do. They've won 7 in a row. They want to make it 8. They want to take a 2-0 series lead. So I'm expecting a better version of the Vegas Golden Knights in Game 2 than we got yesterday in Game number 1. We'll take a break, wrap it up next on the VGK Insider Show. It's Fox Sports Las Vegas.
I'm on fire over here, lads. Come on, I need some back and forth. Come on, what do you got for me? What do you got for me? Now make it quick. Make it funny.
We're down to the wire. It's the last minute of play.
Wrapping it up here, VGK Insider Show. Game 2, Stanley Cup Final. Tomorrow, 5 p.m. puck drop, 4 p.m. pregame show. I will be broadcasting live from the Golden Circle Sportsbook and Bar inside TI. Come on down, say hello, watch the game. It will be on. I can attest. It was on yesterday. It'll be on tomorrow. You'll be able to sit, enjoy great food. Gourmet food, really. Tremendous. If you've never been down to Golden Circle, you're a local, get down there tomorrow. I promise you won't be disappointed. Okay. That's where I'll be for every road game of the Stanley Cup Finals. Come on down, say hello. Always free parking. Get down to TI tomorrow. We'll hang out. It'll be a great night. Okay. Stefan on the text line hits me with a tremendous stat. And listen, I've had a lot of things going on today. I haven't fact-checked this, but I have no reason to believe that Stefan is not correct. So here he is on the text line from Stefan. Here's another insane stat. In 12 of Torts' 20 Vegas Golden Knights wins, the Knights have come from behind. That's nuts. And yeah, it is. I mean, it is demonstration or proof of concept from what the Golden Knights have talked about ad nauseum over the last 2 months. There isn't panic in their game. They understand how to deal with the ebbs and the flows and the momentum swings that come along with postseason hockey. And my argument to that is very simple. They dealt with it all year long. I know that it can be something that we do here because the Golden Knights look like a wagon, because they have been a bit of a juggernaut in the postseason, because they've only got 4 losses and 13 wins. You're going to look at them and say, okay, this is a completely different team than the team that they were in the regular season. And to some degree, they are different, right? This is the fully realized potential we all understood and recognized that they had in training camp. We knew the Golden Knights would be good. We knew that they would be a team that would be challenging, contending legitimately in the Western Conference. It's not that they took a straight path to get there. They didn't. They took the long and windy and bumpy road all throughout the regular season through 74 games until there was a coaching change. And you can't argue with the results since the coaching change. 7-0-1 in the regular season under John Tortorella, and now 13-4 in the postseason. But it doesn't matter the game states. It doesn't matter what is going on. It doesn't matter if they're down 3-0 after the first period to Colorado, or if they're down 2-0 8 minutes in Carolina on the road in the Stanley Cup Final. There is no scenario, no game state, no situation that the Golden Knights don't have belief they can come back and win. Because they've been able to come back and win. They've been in this spot before throughout the regular season and in the playoffs. And that should concern Carolina. Because it doesn't matter how much you put in terms of distance inside of a game between yourself and the Vegas Golden Knights, they always find a way to get to their game. They always find a way to build into the game, and you can't overwhelm them forever. It's really what they're all about. It's their identity. And that's what this team is, with an opportunity to win another Stanley Cup. Again, Game 2 Stanley Cup Final tomorrow, right here on Fox Sports Las Vegas. I will be broadcasting live from the Golden Circle. I hope to see you there at 4 p.m. Have a great night, everybody.